We're rolling.
Rolling.
All right, Mariah Owen.
Hi.
Welcome to Going Again podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're stoked to have you. This is so cool.
Pretty exciting.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Mariah, we'll just straight up start with who you are, what you do, where it sort of started. From acting to exec producing and athleticism and all the stuff.
All the stuff. Okay. Yeah. So, hey, I'm Mariah. I'm an actor, filmmaker, writer, producer, director. I started my production company almost 6.5 years ago, and I've had films at South by, Sitges, Cannes, kind of all over. And my work can be on Netflix, Amazon, CBC. I want to make movies for the rest of my life. And then,
incredible.
Okay, great. Now that's over, let's talk about your dad's motorcycle.
Yeah, let's talk about my dad's motorcycles. They're so much cooler than me.
Now that sounds about exactly like us. That's incredible. We want to make movies for the rest of our lives.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So how did it all get started? Where are you from?
I'm from Toronto. When I'm asked with that question, I'm like, I don't know where to start. Like, I grew up doing improv. My actual first job ever was modeling. I was 2.5 days old. So I literally was born and went right to work.
Did they just slide you down the runway?
They did, actually. They like hot potatoed me onto set. I modeled for a really long time. And then when I was kind of around 13, I was getting very involved in sports. I grew up doing gymnastics, then got into ski racing, and then got into cheerleading, which I know we have a lot of mutual friends in the stunt world.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them were cheerleaders as well. And I was on Team Canada for cheer, and I've competed, all over. And I kind of came to a point where I was doing improv and kind of given up modeling, but loved performing so much, but never really thought it was going to be a career path for me.
Right.
And I ended up graduating high school early. I went to U of T thinking I was going to be a sports medicine doctor. So glad I'm not that. Even though those are important and needed. But,
sure.
I was just kind of doing improv on the side and, thinking like, oh, maybe when I'm older I could do this. But unfortunately, halfway through my undergrad, one of my really good friends and teammates passed away. So I took a year off of school. And his name was Garfield, and he was amazing. It was actually his birthday on Monday. And my dad was like, well, you can't just sit at home and be sad. Like, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I'm not really sure, And he's like, why don't you go back to Second City? So I went back to Second City, and I did the improv program and the comedy writing program, and I loved it.
You did that?
Sweet. Yeah, I did that. My mother, when I was really young, me and my mother used to do improv at Second City. And then as I grew up, I went and did the writing, comedy, and all the sketch stuff. Yeah.
I knew you would look at her. I know,
I'm sorry. I'm a rule breaker. But that's amazing you did that. So you as you know, part of the graduation, you write a show for the main stage. And I just loved it. I was like, this is so cool. Like, how can I do more of it like this? And kind of be on the, behind the scenes side of it. Mm-hmm. And so I started PAing, and I was doing social media kind of like here and there as like a side hustle, if you will, in college. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I can get an agent. So I got an agent. I was starting to audition, started doing social media for some of the larger actors on that roster. And
wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was like 20 years old doing some pretty wild stuff. And got asked to be a social media producer for a web series. And I had no idea what that meant. So I just said yes. And
I think that happens a lot in this business.
Yeah. And kind of just worked my way up from there. And then it got picked up by Bell. And
can we ask what series? It
was called IRL. So IRL, the series. So it was
in real life.
In real life.
Yes.
What year is this? Like 2014, 2015. And I didn't really necessarily, it's kind of hard for me to, now that I said that, I didn't have it was a different experience for me on that. And I think I thought like, okay, maybe I can do this a little differently, and I can maybe treat people a little differently. And so I tried a short with my friend from college, and it did well. It was non-union, and I was like, okay, did another one. And then I thought, okay, I want to work with union actors. I want to, make it a little bit bigger and see what that entails. And
shout out to Actra.
shout out to Actra.
Yeah.
And I went to their website and I was like, oh, I could do this. I could do that. Okay, great. Like, I'm so ready. And I remember going into Actra and being like, I want to do an Actra tip, the Toronto indie production, which they don't have anymore. And I was like, I'm ready to shoot this next week. And they're like, that's so not how it works. And so, I became incorporated, but I wasn't a member of CMPA, which is the Canadian Media Producers Association.
Yeah, we're members.
Amazing. And I didn't know anyone who was. And I asked another actor, who asked a writer, who asked a director, who asked another producer up in Ottawa to meet with me. And he met with me. He ended up referring me to the CMPA. I did my short. And then just every project from there, tried to do a little bit bigger and better and all the things.
And it's quite clear that you have gone much bigger, much better. And even in terms of the time frame, you're now doing full-length features and,
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wicked.
It's cool. I mean, my first feature, MFA, premiered at South by Southwest in 2017. And that kind of opened a lot of doors for me, and I'm, still wanting to do bigger things and bigger budgets, but, still learning all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I heard on an interview or something that you were the youngest exec in Hollywood. Is that true?
Okay, so no, I don't think it is anymore.
Not anymore.
But when it was started with MFA, because I was 21 when I did MFA, so I produced and acted in MFA, and at South by I was the youngest EP on any of the features there. And then it was another outlet, I think it was Broadway World, and they called me that as the youngest EP in Hollywood, and then that's been like a tagline. And I'm 28 now, so I'm definitely not the youngest EP
Yeah, you're getting really old.
I'm so old. You're getting younger. It's so weird.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's incredibly wild.
So take us through the steps of producing a feature for all the 21-year-olds that want to do it.
Wow. Yeah, I think so much of it was saying yes and then figuring it out on the go, which is probably, that doesn't work in every situation of life, obviously. But having a strong skill set of, I think, coming from sports and being a teammate for so long and just being like, okay, we got to figure this out. Like, who do I want to work with? Who do I want on my team? And then if I don't know something, ask. Like there's no value in pretending to know something that you don't and then failing.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of filmmakers that do that.
Yeah, and
totally.
It's hard, so instead just kind of being more honest of being like, okay, I have this idea, or, as a producer, this other person has this idea, I want to support them. What do we need? Like, okay, do we need a director? Okay, well, who do we want to work with? Like, who can we afford, or who,
Sure.
And in any of those cases, like the power of a cold email goes so far. The amount of people that I've just cold emailed and either set up a meeting with or something. So I think I would suggest that. Every feature is so different, obviously, as you guys know, but I would say, just ask, like throw the spaghetti on the wall.
More often than not, people respond
Totally.
in a healthy manner.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it's not exactly what you want, it seems like it's a door to perhaps something else.
Yeah, they can always turn you on to somebody.
Totally. Besides,
So I have a question. You said something earlier that kind of stuck with me, and I have to ask. You did the online series.
Yeah.
What was it called? In real
life.
Yeah.
IRL.
Yeah.
And then you did your short and you said you wanted to treat people differently.
Yeah.
So was the IRL experience in the way people were treated not favorable?
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. It just was a different experience. And I think for me at 20, it was not the experience that I thought it would be. And a lot of my friends are some of the actors that I met on that. But I think for me, it inspired me to be a different leader in that way, as a director and as a producer.
I love that.
And as
Okay.
a filmmaker.
Yeah. So I thought that might be where it was going, but I wanted to ask.
Yeah. So and when I started my production company, it's called GTE, which stands for Jerry, as in my grandpa, and Turner, Garfield Turner, my friend that passed away.
Wow.
But both of them were two guys who just really believed in people and would bring out the best in people and make you feel comfortable. And so moving forward, when I got to that stage, I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, like, I want everyone that works to feel that, like, to feel valued and to feel comfortable and to feel like we're a team.
Well, I love that. And
Yeah.
that's the way it should be.
It should be, yeah.
You should be fostering confidence
Totally.
in everyone around you.
Yeah.
And hiring people who are better at it than you.
Totally.
Yeah. Go make my movie for me.
Or like, okay, I believe in you. Like, you have great skills. I'm going to let you do your job. Like, that's like so
100%.
much. That's how it should be.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we all know, we've all had experiences where that's
Not been the case.
Yeah.
Big time.
I took a meeting with a production once, and after I left,
Yeah.
after me being me and telling them how to do their job,
Yeah.
the producer called me and said, I don't have the job. You can't have it, because the director told me he doesn't want anyone on set that knows more about filmmaking than him. What? No kidding.
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, it's awful.
And at the end of the day, we're just making movies. We're supposed to be having fun.
Totally.
You know? Yeah.
Hey, same with podcasting.
Hell yeah.
We're having fun.
Yeah, we're just here because it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
So that first experience shooting your first feature, was it incredible?
It was awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
It was really cool. It felt like it was my film school because I didn't go to film school. I went back to U of T, not for sports medicine, but for English and cinema, so film history. And so I felt when I did MFA, I got to learn from all of these amazing people who I've, again, worked with multiple times. And yeah, I felt like it was my film school just because I was surrounded by people who knew more than me.
Everything you do is letters.
Yeah, you know what? There are a lot of letters.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I guess now I have full titles.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember them all. I'm just going to recite the alphabet when I.
Perfect. Awesome.
So what was TO Webfest, and do you still do it, or is it still a thing?
It's still totally a thing. It's a web series, or a festival dedicated to web series and podcasts.
Just a minute. What's it called?
TO
Okay,
Webfest.
I'm gonna leave.
Yeah,
Goodbye. No, I'm kidding.
that's right.
But yeah, it's a great festival. I think it's going to be in its 9th or 10th year this coming year. And so I was on the board, which was then called IWCC, the Independent Web Creators of Canada. And now it's Web Series Canada, but they put on TO Webfest.
Okay.
And so in 2019, I was executive producer and director of industry programming. So got to package really cool programming for the festival, and it was at the TIFF Bell Lightbox. And it's really
Yeah,
cool.
that is
It's
cool.
Podcasters, you should check it out.
And so
will.
this is still a
We
thing.
both wrote it down.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and you're still involved.
I'm
To some
not.
okay.
I'm supportive of the festival, absolutely.
Sure.
But I'm consulting for a couple other festivals right now for industry programming, which is something that I love. I love, 'cause I think being a filmmaker, and obviously you understand, you have a better insight as to what you want to learn. So when you are thinking of programming, and be like, oh, what do I want to learn? Like, who would I want to talk to? And then from there, cold emailing that person. And, having that as either a fireside chat or a panel at a festival.
That's what we did, and that's why you're here.
Love it.
Okay, so now let's come up to today. What has changed in terms of going from shorts to full-length features? How did those shorts get you here? It get you your funding, get you things? Is that what did you build?
It's kind of weird because I feel like I've gone back and forth between features and shorts. Like this summer, I just did a new feature called Scrambled. It's a comedy about egg fertility. My friend Leah McKendrick, who I did my first feature with, MFA.
That's a great title.
So she wrote Scrambled based on her own experience with freezing her eggs. And so it's a comedy where she freezes her eggs and goes back and revisits her past relationships and really kind of asks certain questions like, do I want to be a mom? Like, would that person have been a good dad? Like, there's like, what does my relationship look like, or, all of that. But in the same breath, during COVID, I did a short that I wrote, directed, produced, and starred in that's on CBC Gem. So that opened, I think, some more doors for me. So I still play back and forth in that. Like, I think as a producer, jumping from shorts to features was like a very normal thing you build in that career. But for me as a filmmaker and a director writer, I kind of had to go back to doing shorts to figure out what I wanted to say before leaping towards my next feature.
And what's the name of that short?
It's called Disconnected. So it's not an acronym. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what does that mean?
DC. Okay, well that's very cool. Oh my god, I was going to ask something. based on that.
This happens a bit.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say like I still jump back and forth between the two. I mean, shorts, you're so limited, you know, like obviously you make a short, it goes to festivals. If you're lucky, you can get some distribution for it, but usually you're not making any money back on a
Right.
short. You know, another project that was a short was Pamela and Ivy, which is a poison ivy origin story I did with my friend Leah. And that opened doors for us, and it was a short film too. So it depends. I think it just depends on what you want to say. Like if you're stuck in a particular genre, like maybe go make a short so that people can see that you can do it and use it more as a calling card.
Right. And who funds your shorts? How do you do it?
So there's private equity. I've also funded some of my own shorts and used money from other projects to fund those. And then investors. So I haven't typically been, I hate to say like I'm not a fit for telefilm, but I'm usually the stuff that I make is not a fit for telefilm. It's not a fit for IPF or, you know, so I hope so, maybe moving forward, but typically.
So why not? There's a lot of young people out there trying to make movies, and they think of telefilm and all the funding.
Totally.
So why are you not a fit, and how could you be?
I think I work a lot with Americans.
Okay.
So that's a huge factor, and just in where we're filming and the different tax credits. Like, you know, I've utilized Arizona's and California's and New York's tax credit.
Wow.
Can you do that as a Canadian citizen, or are you an American citizen?
I have an O1. So if you have a work permit, you could do that. And I totally lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
No, we're funding. Funding,
right.
using the state's individual.
With telefilm, I think just at the beginning, I didn't necessarily have a distributor on board. I didn't have a broadcaster on board. I didn't know anybody at that time. And typically when I first started and I was taking meetings, I was 21. And so then the person at telefilm, you know, great person, but said to me, we'll work with you in a couple years. Like, you're just not ready. So then that same year I did MFA and I went to South by. I saw them at and then I saw them at the festival. They're like, oh, we can set up a meeting. It's like almost because I got a check mark from somebody else that they then wanted to.
What a shame.
Yeah. So I think now, just at a point where like I have some really great investors that I can go to, or, you know, different deals. Scrambled was just bought globally by Lionsgate. Like it's just like it's just different, you know? And I'm not saying like, I would love to, and telefilm is so wonderful and has been a sponsor at other events and festivals I've produced. I was selected for IPF producer bursary at Banff World Media Festival in 2020. You know, so I know those. Thank you. You know, but like, so I have good relationships and I think they're really wonderful. I just think that the stuff that I'm making right now, or that I have made, just hasn't been a fit, you know? Like my first feature, like, and going back to that, was a vigilante thriller about campus rape. Not a lot of people wanted to give money to that, you know? Like it's in the
which
world's
they should
changed.
have.
They should have, but you know, prior to 2017, we filmed this in 2016. The world, like the Me Too movement hadn't happened. You know, people still were really hesitant and not sure of how it was going to work. And I think a lot of projects that I've done have had different subject matters that people are like, I don't really know how it's going to go, but good luck. So, and I think because of that.
Do you find the Americans are more risk-taking?
Totally.
Yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah, I think Canada as a country and every industry, we're so risk adverse. But yeah, and I think I'm just really grateful that there were people that did say yes to me or took a chance on me, and most of them came from the U.S. So.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And how many emails were you putting out before you got those yeses?
A lot.
Yeah.
And it's an MFA actually was a cold email to me, which was cool. So Leah emailed me a couple months before we ended up shooting, and she was like, hey, I'm a female filmmaker. If you're looking for a film, choose mine. She'd found me online and seen some of my stuff. And it's one of my favorite stories to tell because I honestly thought it was a scam. I went to my Hotmail account because I guess when I signed up for IMDb Pro, like all those years ago, I only had a Hotmail account. I didn't have my production company.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so I got this email to my Hotmail account, and I sent it to my agent, and I was at Characters at the time. And I was like, do you think this is real? Like, I think this is a scam. This sounds so cool. There's all these cool people involved. Like, why is she emailing me? And
you looked at her again.
I'm sorry. And yeah, and it was not a scam, and we did the movie, and it was a really, really wonderful experience. So
this Leah, she was looking for a producer.
Yeah.
And she just cold called you. And
yeah, cold emailed. So she had seen some stuff on online, and then through I think IMDb Pro, she put in certain parameters and was looking for female executives, and found me through there. And then cold emailed me to my Hotmail account, and now she's one of my best friends. We make a bunch of movies together.
That's a
which is
trip.
cool.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And speaking of the times and subject matter, you have an Iranian film coming?
So I was CMPA mentor and EP on Toronto. So
Okay.
that was a cool opportunity. I was never on set. But wonderful producer, Jackie, she messaged me and she was like, hey, we really need someone with a CMPA. We need a CMPA mentor. Would you be interested? This is the film. This is what we're trying to do. Sent me everything. And if someone had said yes to me, sorry, there's a fly, hadn't said yes to me or given me that opportunity, I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff that what I'm doing. So I usually say yes to a lot of the CMPA mentor stuff, which is basically you lend your number and you are responsible, if anything does go wrong, which is a little nerve wracking, but
Yeah, wow.
was just there more so as a support and more to, if, hey, how do I do this contract? Or, hey, how do I do this? Or what do you do in this situation? So it was more of a mentorship situation. Like I can't take credit for actually like day to day producing that film.
Right.
Okay.
I love the title.
Yeah, very, very cool. So, and it's still doing the festival circuit and yeah, really exciting.
Cool. Yeah, it's kind of neat. Mm-hmm. Interesting. And it's shot, you just shot out in Toronto?
They shot
Or
in Toronto.
they did?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
What can you tell me what it's about?
I want to save this for Jackie to come on and do
Copy,
it.
sure,
Yeah, because
copy.
I'm very happy and proud, but I also feel badly because I shouldn't say badly. I didn't do the producing work on that.
I understand.
I just
Yes.
helped open a door and she ran.
It's
through
so
it.
neat.
Yeah.
It looks good.
We'll have
Yeah.
to cold email Jackie.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? I will even put you in an email to Jackie because she's really friggin' cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good. We have another guest in queue.
Yeah,
there you go.
right on.
Thank God, going again is going to go again.
Yeah, yeah, baby.
Boom. Love it. Love it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I watched Daddy's Playground yesterday.
You did on No Budge?
Just no,
On
YouTube.
Oh,
Just on YouTube.
there you go. Very
Yeah,
cool.
now you're like, why is it just on YouTube?
was
What
like,
the fuck is? Yeah, that was super neat and pretty gritty, and
Yeah.
I like your style. And
Thank you.
and I watched the trailer to MFA, and I was
Yeah.
gonna rent it last night. I was fucking tired, but
That's okay.
it looks great.
Thanks.
It looks great. You got some great stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who shot MFA?
So MFA was directed by Mitch DeQuettes. So and shot Ashley Morgan, Bonnie Mata, who both they produce, wrote, and star in the film. They play Teddy and Rose. And I met Ashley, and we've collaborated on a lot of projects. But I met her because her cousin was the lead in my first feature, and we met at South by. And she was like, "Hey, can I send you some stuff?" And I was like, okay, cool. And she sent me a bunch of stuff, and Daddy's Playground was one of them. And I was just drawn to that project. It's, obviously about sugar babies and sugar culture. And I haven't participated in it, but I find it fascinating. A lot of my friends in school at U of T, or even friends that, went to school at UCLA and NYU, were sugar babies in order to pay for their education.
Jesus.
So it was like a crazy topic that I was like, this is so fascinating. Like, what? You
Yeah.
know?
Okay, so color me ignorant. What's a sugar baby?
That's okay. I mean, there's a variety. They don't necessarily have to be super young girls with older men, but it's typically a mutually beneficial relationship with some type of financial
Well, that's interesting.
financial deal. So they're not always romantic relationships, but they can be platonic or like mentorship style, but the majority of them have, sex as some type of currency between the two. And it's kind of fascinating and kind of crazy. It's not just not just sugar daddies or sugar mamas, and like learning about it through their experiences, because our two writers, and they're very open about it. They both went to Berkeley and were sugar babies at school for them too.
Wild.
So they had their own experiences, and that was such a crazy fun project. Like we shot that really guerrilla style. Like we were, downtown LA shooting on some rooftops, and
No permits.
I was going to ask about that because, I saw some of the rooftop scenes and thought, is there green screen, CGI?
Nope, that was all real.
Wow.
That's fascinating.
Crossing your fingers.
Cool.
But yeah, and that was a really fun project too, and started, some conversations, and went to Holly Shorts and Mammoth, and we went where you should find us on No Budge, but you can also find us on YouTube.
Sorry.
That's
My
okay.
bad.
That's okay.
It's good for her to know that it's out there.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. I like how you shoot. It's just, it looks good. I like the grittiness,
Thank you.
Yeah. It's good.
Investors, huh?
Yes. Yep.
It had a bit of
American, Canadian.
American.
There you go.
Yeah.
it had a feeling of like a less CGI'd version of like Sin City. That's how it felt.
Ooh, everyone's gonna love that.
It kind of
I'll tell them
vibed. It sort of had that vibe to me. There were
Awesome.
moments that really felt Sin
Yeah.
City-ish, for sure.
Amazing.
It was cool. Yeah.
Nice.
No, I'm glad you liked that as a compliment. I'm
Yeah.
glad that was a compliment.
Well, no, it's very stylistic, right? And I think that's what we were going for, and to kind of show like the dark underbelly of this, that culture.
Do you have like a genre
I was
that
going
you?
to ask the same question.
I mean, I guess I'm trying to expand now, and I promise my parents I'm going to make a happy movie soon. It just hasn't happened yet. There's like a lot of like killing and revenge. But I think psychological thrillers are my favorite. But that being said, like I love Step Brothers. Like I love really good comedy too. I
Sure.
just haven't done one yet.
But everybody loves laughing and loves
It's
comedy.
true.
And that doesn't mean that they necessarily know how to create it or that the interest in creating something like that is there. But
Totally. Yeah.
No, sales-wise, the psychological thriller would sell around the world because it's all it speaks to all languages.
Right.
Where the comedy's not going to do that.
That's true. It's very true. And there's such a huge market for horror, psychological thriller, and that was such an interesting, like my first time with, and I keep going back to MFA because it was my film school, and it was so independent, and learning about sales agents and selling per country versus doing all media, because even if you sell all media, that might just only be 4 countries. It doesn't mean that they're actually going to go independently to each country to make a sale. Versus with MFA, we did because we were low budget, and
Did you do that yourself, or did you use a sales agent?
we ended up using a sales agent after South by.
Okay.
And that was really cool though to get to learn. And Shin Simisoa, who was a producer on MFA, he's one of my mentors and favorite people in the world. I've learned so much from him, and I met him on that project and would be like, how do you do that? Like, what does that mean? And
wow, cool.
and just got to learn so much. And he comes from the horror world. And he just did the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he's like a horror dude. And I've learned so much, and I think for that genre, like those are the stories I'm typically interested in. I would say, like I'm gearing up for my new feature that I wrote and directed and will produce. I don't know if I'm going to act in it yet. It's called Grace, but it's a psychological thriller about a girl in high school who starts showing the signs of being a serial killer.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That is.
How old would the girl be?
She's 15.
Oh, that's interesting. So now, you can't give it away.
I know. We can talk about it later.
Yeah, okay, because I want to know. We're both writers, so that's.
Yeah.
But I find it fascinating that that's a good story.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's a neat idea.
See.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm excited, and that, like, I've had that on the back burner for so long, and I think it's, when you do so many different things, like you guys do a million different things, you have a million different interests. It's so easy to put something on the back burner and be like, oh, I'll do this when I have time.
Sure.
But I was like, no, I want to make time for it. Like, as much as I'm a producer and I love my production company and doing projects like Toronto, and helping other filmmakers, I also want to greenlight my own stuff and tell my own stories and, do that. So,
Well, in some regard, I would imagine that being a producer, though you're developing a film, you're not necessarily in part of the creative part, or maybe
Yeah.
lesser than if you're directing and writing.
totally. I think, like, I really think of myself more so as a creative producer, especially in projects where I'm actively producing, like boots on the ground. I love that. Like, I love bringing the team together. I love, I love all of that. But definitely, I agree. At the end of the day, you're more likely to say no as a producer than you ever are to say yes. You have a budget to abide by. You have people that you're contractually obligated to. There's, so many more boundaries.
Now, I've heard that, I was once watching a panel in Santa Monica of a bunch of producers, and they were talking about how so many people get a budget and then they miss things like post, or they miss then even marketing and advertising and some of the other things.
Totally.
How much of that takes up the budget?
I think it depends on the film, but truly, even for a short, like I would say to everyone, try and add in, if you can, like, $500 to $1,000 just for film festivals, and it depends on your short. Like if you have a bigger short, increase that budget, because film festivals add up, like even the
As soon as one gets one, the next one hears it.
Totally. It might not even be enough, but I'm saying for a first time filmmaker,
right?
If you're doing a little short, like if you're doing a short for 10K, like, and you're fresh out of film school, you probably don't have a lot of access to funds, and you probably aren't going to get, a grant. You might get a Canada Arts Council grant, or Ontario Arts, the Toronto Arts, all of those, but you don't know. There's a handful of those every single year. So if you only have 10K, you really want to push that as far as you can. I would try and, add in a little bit of money, but obviously if you're doing a project that's 30K, well, maybe you want to put in $5,000. Like, a publicist is usually $4,000 a month for a minimum of 3 months. So it depends on your numbers, right? But for a first-time filmmaker, I would definitely say, like, at least put that aside, because then you can be really selective about the festivals that you're going to. And then, I think for me, my first short, like, looking back at it now, I love it and I'm proud of it. But I was submitting to, like, TIFF and Tribeca, and no way. And so I think just kind of thinking, okay, what are, like, the mid-tier festivals that would get my project seen and aren't gonna cost me a kidney, and there are so many of them there, and you can find, like,
they're everywhere.
And go to film.
And the benefit today is that you don't have to put it in a can and send it or take it.
Totally.
It's digital.
Yeah, it's all digital. And you go on Film Freeway and do some of the ones that are Oscar qualifying or CSA qualifying, and from there, if they get into 2, well, you can submit them to CSAs if you want to. Like, there's just, I think the game, I don't know why everyone's, like, so hidden about it. Like, I wish someone said to me, like, oh, you could do this. And I'm like, oh, wow. So now I try and help other people.
That's nice.
I love it. And you're doing that here right now. I mean, people are going to listen to this. This is a huge education. Huge education.
God.
Just being as young as you are and having accomplished what you've accomplished, and listening to your passion and your ambition, which has clearly gotten you a long way.
Thank you.
You're going to get a lot of cold emails.
Good.
Yeah.
Bring them on. Just the one that I hate the most is, how do you produce?
Oh,
like,
God.
Do not, I'm sure you guys get this all the time. How do you do stunts? Or, like, how do you get into stunts? And you're like, go away. Like, like, come back. And, and I'm not trying to limit people, but if you're going to ask someone a question, like, think about it first. No one's just going to, if you're like, okay, I took this class and I'm just really not sure how to get started. Like, that's a very different question than just, like, give me all the knowledge that you've, learned from blood, 100%. Sweat, and tears for the last however many years, like, so being really intentional with your question, and being like the question that I was really asking during COVID to a lot of people that I look up to, and people, most of them were people I knew at this point. I was like, I feel like I'm really stuck between, like, I'm at the top of one tier and I just can't really break into the next one, and I don't know how. Like, what do you suggest for that? And some of the conversations were really interesting. And I had a friend say to me, like, well, what do you want to do long term? Like, what's the end game goal? And I was like, well, I want to have my production company. And he's like, well, you're doing that. And I was like, well, and I also want to be a creator. And he's like, okay, well, what are you creating? And I was like, oh, nothing. That's awesome. And so then made my short, and I am in post on another one before doing this feature. And, I think it's not like I went to him and I was like, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do. I was like, I really thought about it, and I'm like, I'm at this level where I know most of the players, but I'm not in the next level of the players that I want to be in the room with. Like, how do I get there? What do I do? So I think, the power of cold email. So hopefully if I get cold emails, think about them first.
And I happen to know two really talented stunt coordinators that love doing psychological thrillers.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Oh my God.
I do.
Are they sitting across from me right now?
I think one of them is.
Yeah, at least one of them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Did your athletic career get you here at all? Did it do anything?
I think so, totally. I think being an athlete teaches you so much. And I think, my mom's a gymnastics coach and my dad loves sports. My dad, plays hockey 4 times a week. So I grew up in a really athletic family. But I think being an athlete, teaches you so much, teaches you how to show up, get up, show up, be there for your teammates, go somewhere when you don't want to, push through things.
And I imagine it's so difficult that doing everything else seems relatively simple in comparison.
Honestly, yeah. Like it's...
That's interesting.
I feel like being an athlete I just learned so much, and it's still such a part of who I am. And my last year competing at Worlds was 2016, and I still think about it. I'm like, oh, maybe I have one more year in me. Maybe I could go back, And,
This is the cheering thing?
Yeah, for cheerleading. Yeah.
This is where everybody's on stage and they throw each other up in the air and do flips and stuff?
Yes. I love the way that you describe it, just like my dad.
I'm still picturing your dad taking his hockey gear to the arena on his Triumph.
Yeah, see, there you go. It's a 2.5 minute routine that you compete. There's stunts, there's dance, there's tumbling, there's pyramids, all of that. It's a combination, and I love it. And it was having the background in gymnastics to then go to cheerleading was pretty fluid and pretty easy to transition into. And I grew up in that gym, and then I would, I kind of had to make the decision. I was getting to a point in ski racing where I was doing pretty well, and then I was doing really well in cheerleading, and I was like, I don't know what that's going to look like for me. And just based on my body type alone, kind of knew that cheerleading was probably, like, cheer and gymnastics and tumbling were probably a better option for me than skiing, based on a lot of the highly competitive skiers. And, I'm a short girl and not...
So skiing is for taller people?
I think a lot of the skiers, they're a lot taller. They have a different body style. Like the same for me. I'm not... I might run a marathon one day in my life, but I'm not built like a runner. And I think just for me, I felt like I just didn't weigh enough. I couldn't gain enough muscle to, I had great technique and I had great skill, but it got to a point where I just couldn't, I couldn't grow any faster the way that other girls were.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if you look at a lot, we're just built differently. Like yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So
And
I
didn't know, like, again, my ignorance, I'm not that experienced with the cheerleading thing.
Yeah.
I've seen it on television, on like Wild World of Sports kind of stuff.
Yep.
If Wild World of Sports is still a thing. But it's, to me, it seems largely American, the cheerleading thing. So it happens here.
Can you stop calling it a cheerleading thing? It's a sport, Randy.
Okay. I just got shit. The cheerleading sport?
Thank you.
Is that what you call it?
You can just call it cheerleading.
Oh,
It's just
cheerleading.
called
Yeah.
cheerleading.
Oh, okay, cool.
Welcome to the world.
It's like hockey,
wow.
that hockey thing. You know that hockey
I'm going to
thing?
start saying the
that stick
Harley
and
bike
putt?
thing. I'm going to be like, oh, you ride a bicycle on your Harley?
Okay, so cheerleading to
Thank
me,
you.
largely American. So it's Canadian. Like, it happens here
Totally.
a lot.
Totally happens here. And we have, great collegiate
Why don't we
teams.
know about it?
I don't know, because Cambridge is home to one of the best cheerleading gyms in the world.
The Kips.
Yeah. Well, no, not Kips. So Kips is gymnastics.
Okay.
But Cheer Sport Sharks, they've had a show on Netflix. They had a show before Cheer.
What's it called?
All of a sudden now I can't remember their cheer show, but it was on Chorus.
No, but what's the team
Oh,
called?
Cheer Sport Sharks. And their main team that is the multi world champions are the Great White Sharks. They're incredible.
From Cambridge.
They're from Cambridge.
Holy moly, where have I been?
I don't know, because they've been in your Cambridge newspaper and everything.
Oh,
Well, that means we have to go outside and pick up the newspaper off the driveway.
people read that?
But I trained at PCT Cobras, which is a gym out of Mississauga. And I met a lot of the girls from Cambridge because we were on Team Canada together. And so there's teams and gyms across the country, and that's all-star cheerleading. So that would be like your club team. And we have our world championships in April, and then Team Canada's across the country, and there's world championships for that are also at the same time. So yeah.
Okay,
So
well,
is your 15-year-old in your movie a cheerleader?
No, she's not. I'm gonna make another cheerleading movie though.
well, I was gonna say we had Bring It On, but come on, right? Like we need something gritty,
We need something different,
Something
right?
crazy, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
something that appeals to a wider.
I just thought it'd
audience,
be
maybe. I
interesting
don't
if the cheerleading team, all those girls went across the country or wherever they go,
Yeah.
and somebody always ends up dead in that city.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, I think we have our new movie idea, guys.
There it is. There it is. Let's write that down.
Love it. Yeah.
Too funny.
No, maybe not.
Well, hey, you never know. Honestly, it sounds like we got a good base to go off of. But it's true. I think sports really help shape people, and they definitely shaped me.
And the
Yeah.
team aspect of being on a team.
Totally.
Yeah, I think understanding how to if you have a hobby or a sport or something, and you understand growth,
Yeah.
then you can kind of understand, because the film industry is always hurry up and wait constantly. We're always waiting for everything, and if you don't understand patience at all, good luck, right?
Yeah.
But what about young people that don't necessarily have that? They're just straight up film wannabe, whatever, directors, producers, whatever it might be, and now they have to make those cold emails. Why is it so hard for people to do that? Why to be so courageous to pick up the phone, to call somebody that perhaps they're intimidated by, perhaps they don't feel like they're allowed to be calling these people or emailing these people? Why is it that people struggle?
Yeah, your confidence
young
is off the
people.
charts.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
I think people don't want to be shut down. No one wants to be rejected. No one wants to feel like an idiot. But that's like the only time you're going to feel like an idiot is like that's you telling me that, you know?
It's sort of the best part because that's the education in it all, right?
Yeah,
You get shut down and you kind of go, okay, well, I got to change the way I say things.
totally.
I got to reiterate the way I write my emails.
Not everyone thinks that way, though.
Well, Mariah has already said this, that think about the question you want to ask. Like
Right.
these young people. And be specific.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I think everyone, you know, especially my generation, and I'm already kind of worried for the generation behind me,
Oh, 100%.
you know, but to be so entitled and to feel like people are going to give it to you, I think that's another thing, you know, like I've always had it in this, it's not necessarily nice. Like I, you know, do believe everyone's special and everyone has their own thing, but like I've always had the mentality of like, okay, I'm not special. Like work harder. Like you figure it out, you know, why, you know, I'm selective with my time, as should be the person I'm trying to talk to. So why would they want to talk to me if I don't bring anything to the table?
Right.
Like it's a two-way street, you know,
100%.
or maybe like a four-way street. I don't know how many people are involved, but you know, so I think just making sure like, okay, you know, being honest about where you're at, like to be, you know, hey, this is where I just graduated film school, or like for me, I didn't go to film school. My parents aren't in the industry, but I'm doing XYZ and I really would love to pick your brain about this. Like, how did you do this project or whatever? Like, do your research.
What's interesting about that is that you didn't go to film school. So you didn't go to university for film for 2 or 3 or 4 years.
No.
And have been held up to be something special
Yeah.
by fellow students and faculty.
Yeah.
So when you get out into the real world and you discover that that's not the way it works, then you fail
Yeah.
and you give it up.
Right.
I know so many kids that went to film school and just stopped
Yeah.
because so you didn't
Right.
go and you just decided to do it.
Yeah.
And from that, you gained confidence because each
Mm-hmm.
step along the way built you up.
Totally. And it doesn't, like, there are doors slammed in, like, doors in my face, or people that, you know, will work with you in a couple years. Or another story that I love to tell is at Banff World Media Festival. One of the heads of a very big studio, I sat down for a pitch meeting with him, and I was so excited. But I sat down, and he was like, does your mom know you're here? Like, you know, and I've told this story multiple times, and I think it's so important for other people to hear, because when you are young and you're trying to do stuff, you're going to get faced with that, you know? But now that's someone that I go to, and I'm like, my last film just got bought by Lionsgate. And like, you know, and he's like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you build those relationships based on how you communicated back then, or how you met those people. Mm-hmm. And I think just being open and, you know, I made a joke about it. I was like, yeah, she's outside with her 4-ways on. Like, you know, I didn't take it like a hit. Like, nothing has to be so personal. I think that's the other thing why people are, you know, maybe a little reluctant to cold email, because they just don't want someone to shut them down. But I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I mean,
I think overall, the executives in the film business, producers, directors, whatever, are intimidating to most people because it's beyond them. It comes on the television. It's on a big movie screen,
Right.
and people are intimidated. Richard Gere is in town making a movie right now,
Cool.
and the whole city is buzzing because Richard Gere's here.
mm-hmm.
So I don't get it personally, because we work in the business, so we know we can talk to these people,
Right.
that they're not beyond, they're just people.
Totally.
But for young people coming out of film school who haven't had that experience, it's difficult to approach
true.
people because they're intimidating.
Right. And it's so interesting because I used to be so nervous and feel so intimidated by other executives and producers. And then I kind of got to a point where I'm like, wait, they need content. They need artists. They need smaller
They need
producers.
you.
Yeah. Like
Absolutely.
they, you know, and it's not like every time you go into a pitch meeting, like they want you to succeed because they're hoping that you have a great idea that they can then bring to their bigger boss to then go make. You know,
Yeah,
How
they're not
smart do
there.
they look?
They're not there
Like,
to turn you down. They're there
No.
to hope that you have something to bring them.
they're like
Right,
crossing their fingers, like, please be a good idea. Please
Yeah.
be a good idea. You know, like they're on your side. They're rooting for you. They wouldn't take time out of their busy day to sit with someone that's probably going to waste their time,
Exactly.
you know?
Totally.
So I think that's another thing that and I don't really know how to change that, to be honest, other than like young people growing up and working harder. Like, I don't know. Like,
But I also think that if you're going to ask somebody any kind of question and you don't get fully everything you wanted, at the same time, you kind of got to prove yourself. It's not their business
Yeah.
to help you. It's really your business to get your shit on the go.
totally.
You know, you should have to earn. I'm not saying that anybody should be denying anybody or being rude in
No.
return, but you know, if you want something bad enough, then you have to put in the effort anyway,
Totally.
right?
So speaking of effort, and I've brought this up in earlier podcasts, do you find, like, you can make a movie now because you have an iPhone.
Yep.
Anybody can make film. You can go to Best Buy and get a little camera. Then you edit it on your computer. That said, there's a whole lot of garbage out there because people who should not be filmmakers are making films. If you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Should not.
Yeah, I don't care. Everybody can go make a movie. Go nuts.
Yeah.
But there was a time, and I'm not sure you were part of that time, where we shot on film
Right.
and we had to change magazines.
Yeah.
And a director literally had to calculate his footage,
Right.
like get a ratio down that this is. I shoot
is what I
seven-
have.
yeah.
And if you screw up, you may not have film for the last 3 days of your shoot.
Right.
And then when you're sitting in the editing bay and you have strips of film, you think about that cut for 2 days.
Right.
Whereas today, you sit in front of a computer and you think about that cut for 2 seconds.
And then you can change it. and go
Exactly.
back.
Exactly. So you haven't thought through the process to begin with.
Right.
So now what you're doing is you're trying to assemble the film just on the fly and looking at it and go, oh, I like that one.
Right.
When in fact that may not be the cut that you should have made. So do you find that young people are doing that? Like, I know I do. I go to work and I work with directors who are not prepared.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then you see a bunch of movies today and you go, why did they do that?
Totally. I definitely think that it goes back to the material. Like, if you're not, hyper fixated or focused on the material, whether that's the script or the pitch or whatever at that time, and you're not super clear, well, then how are your shots going to be super clear if you don't even know what what the story is?
Like the
That's my
reason.
point. That's my point.
Yeah, totally. And so I totally agree with you on that. I think it's also hard. Everyone's a filmmaker right now. My mom made an Instagram story. She's technically a filmmaker.
That's interesting.
Like that's the perspective of what we have, and everyone, makes Instagram reels. You're now a filmmaker. You're adding music, you're adding audio, voiceover, your photo, everything. So it's so weird, like, we have such like a crazy pump out of content, and yet and I hate like putting filmmakers above YouTubers because I work for Buffer Festival. I produce their award show as well, which is an amazing festival dedicated to YouTube creators. I have been so wrong about a lot of YouTubers and YouTube creation, and a lot of them aren't filming on REs or minis. You know, they're shooting on their phones or they're shooting on a DSLR, like,
Big time.
you know, and they're making incredible content. So it's like such a hard conversation to navigate because I think that like the biggest differentiation that I can think of is just people who are passionate and do their work and do their research, and then people who just got really lucky. And I don't mean that to be rude to other people, but like to show up on set, think about how many people they had to have, you know, impressed, or someone had to give them a check mark to get there, and then they show up on set and they're not prepared. I'd be pissed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and especially for what you guys do, like it's really dangerous the majority of the time in what you do, you know? So if your director's not prepared, like,
Oh, yeah.
shit. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but like,
Yeah, you
Say
can fucking
whatever
swear
the
all the
fuck
fuck
you
you
want.
want.
oh, wow, thank you so much. Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
We're not going to be on any YouTube awards, Jen.
Yeah, I hope we hear your trashy mouth now.
oh,
Yeah, really, really trash.
Things are about to change.
Yeah.
plot twist. But yeah, I mean, that sucks that people are coming to set not prepared. Like I've heard that a lot, especially, you know, I'm not at that level yet. I'm not shooting episodes that are, you know, $20 million. Like that's not.
I think, see, what's happened is at some point, you know, there was a time back when there were only so many things shooting in Toronto. There was also not streaming services. There were a lot less submissions actually going to camera, let's say, from Hollywood. While there could have been maybe 200 every year at that time, there's probably 1,000 now, or whatever. And I think at that time, you know, when there was like a tier A show and then there was a tier D or whatever you want to call it, tier D was when you went to set, you felt it. You know, people were learning. Some people were green. Some people were a little better. Most people would help. And then you go to tier A and everybody was like on top of shit all the time and whatever. Now I feel like the tier thing almost is like mixed. Tier A with tier B and D and C, whatever, this department and that department and everybody, because there's a lot going on.
right.
The availability of crews.
Yeah.
And
There's
and
so
everything
much. And then so people coming out of film school, they're getting perhaps, I don't know, I actually don't know who's getting these opportunities and who's not, but what it feels like is like brand new directors doing crazy things without the experience. But there's also people on set standing next to them with that same green mentality.
Yeah.
It's just, so yeah, in our part of the industry, it does become dangerous when, you know, like, yeah, when everything is now running thin, you know, it doesn't have the same substance that it once had. Yeah. That's what it feels like.
I use martial arts as an analogy.
Okay.
When I was a kid, there was one karate school, and it was 2 cities away from me.
Right.
So I had to take 2 city buses just to go there when I was a little kid. Mm-hmm. Now there's karate school on every corner. So this guy had black belt. This guy had 10. Those 10 guys started schools. They had 10 each. They started schools. They had 10 each.
Yeah.
So it spreads out and everything gets thin. So the same thing happens in the film business, I can imagine, in that there's so much content being created. The experienced A-listers can't be on every show. So you have to start drawing from there. So what I'm finding in the stunt industry, and no offense to anyone, is that some people are insinuating themselves into the stunt coordinator position because they speak well in a meeting. And unfortunately, they don't have the experience. And I hope to God no one gets hurt. But the producer that they're speaking to is also that person.
Right.
So that person really doesn't know how to vet the stunt coordinator's skills to know that that person that's talking themselves into a job is the guy for the job or gal.
Totally.
So that's what's happening. And so it goes throughout the entire business. But
Yeah, and it's really frightening to think about. I mean, I think about rust. That's terrifying and horrific, and
Yeah.
never ever want that to happen. And you would think that people would do their due diligence a little bit more. Not that you have to wait for something horrific to happen in order to do so, but you would think that people would be like, okay, that can't happen again.
Right.
So
You'd hope.
yeah,
You'd really hope.
yeah,
We had Charlie Taylor on, who's a Toronto-based armor
Yeah.
gun wrangler guy.
Best in the world.
Best in the world. And he talked about this. I mean, the rust thing, it happened on one set. There's a million of them
Yeah.
everywhere. And I'd heard that some of the guys that Charlie sends out have been asked, how are you going to tighten things up? How are you going to be safer?
right.
As if they were the problem, right? But they're not the problem.
No,
But it is because of this thinning thing that I think you get into situations like that.
totally.
And I imagine as a producer, especially after Rust, that you would,
Yeah.
you fear that kind of thing. You're very responsible.
It's true.
What is your responsibility? Well, how do you feel? I wouldn't really know. As an executive producer, how do you feel about that?
In terms of like dealing with stunts in difficult situations, or just in
Yeah, I
its
mean,
entirety?
as I think in its entirety.
I think I have a bit of a different upbringing. Like I think especially regarding stunts or anything, even like I've shot with guns in multiple projects, but I also grew up. I when I was 12, I shot an Uzi. Like I've shot an MP5. Like there's, I grew up knowing the risks, and also like I'm not like. It boggles my mind that there are people who don't have knowledge or don't respect that, and then accidents happen.
Yeah.
And I also think, growing up as an athlete, a lot of my friends are stunt performers. I skied in Molly's game, and technically it was stunts. Like I've dipped my toe in that world.
That's
but
very cool.
It's like I think I just understand or have an appreciation, or maybe respect's the better word. So I think as a producer, when I'm dealing with things that are stunt related, I'm almost more hyper aware because there's so many people that I love who are involved in those areas. But I think as a producer in its entirety, it's like we make movies, we don't save lives. Like I say that all the time because it's true. Like we are literally making the thing that people like rush home to go watch. Or during the pandemic, everyone wasn't working. What did they do? They went home, sat down, and watched the stuff that we worked on. So I think it's a responsibility to just like make sure people know what they're doing. And if they do that, great. Give them the tools and the other teammates that they need to go do that job, and then check in, and not to be afraid. Like, don't want to harp on anybody or,
Micromanage.
Thank you. But to be like, hey, do you have everything you need? Like, are we all on the same page? And instead of it being like, well, at least what I try to do, instead of being like, okay, do you know what you're doing? It's like, walk me through the plan because I don't get it. Even if I do get it, I say that because you have to know to make sure everyone's clear and everyone's on the same page.
Communication is obviously like one of the biggest roles
Totally.
in probably any situation ever.
Yeah. And as a producer, it's your job. You're the only person truly that's going to deal with every single department. Even a director, like, yeah, a director might talk to grip and gaff, but it's not like they're having the conversations that we're having,
Yeah,
Certainly.
The director really doesn't have to speak to those people.
No.
And if he does, it's probably on a social level,
Right.
as opposed to professional, because he's going to go through his DP and everybody else.
Exactly. But a producer, you're responsible for communicating to every single department and to be like, okay, well, has art communicated with the DP? Like, is, whatever that might be, or costumes, like, it's your job. So I feel like that's how I feel about it. It's your job to like protect the people that you work with and to make sure that people feel like they're coming to work every day. It's like, it's a privilege to get to work and do what we do.
Yeah.
So
people
yeah.
ask me all the time, do you have to work next week? And I say, no, I get to go to work next week.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm still excited about it every time I go to work. It's
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's so friggin' cool. And
Yeah.
how long have you been doing stunts now?
Oh, over 40 years.
Like what? Like that's the dream to be able to say like
But see,
I
that's
love
what
what
it
I
is.
do.
That was what it was. It was
Yeah.
a dream.
Yeah.
I'm a filmmaker in my heart.
Yeah.
So every day I'm on set, I
Right.
learn and I pay attention and I'm having fun. And
Totally.
I never use my honey wagon room ever.
Yep.
Never. I'm always there.
Right.
I do. I use mine.
You use yours. That's okay.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Well, if you're a performer, if you're a stunt performer, you
That's
use
when it's
your room.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're coordinating and or
Yeah.
second unit directing, whatever, you're always there on set and
Totally.
doing your deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk amongst yourselves for a second.
Okay. Copy.
But how long have you been doing stunts? How did you get into stunts? I don't know this.
Well, I mean, I got in, through my pops there.
Yeah.
You know.
But were you like, hey, I want to do crazy things and drive
Yeah.
cars really fast? Like, how did that work? Okay.
Pretty kind of sort of. In some regard, it was offered up to me in areas. He would always, I've got this thing coming. You want to learn? You want to do it? Whatever. And very much, of course, it was a yes. And then at some point, I actually just took it more seriously. I thought about the possibilities of family, building a life and a home and all this other stuff. And I just thought, I got to put away the beer and whatever, and I got to do this. But I'm in so many other things. I was a very, very active skateboarder for like my whole friggin' life. And beating myself up was like, it was kind of just all a part of it. So it made a lot of sense to me. I started, though, in acting. I did a ton of improv. I did stand-up comedy. I did everything, directing courses, writing courses, just everything throughout my teens and my 20s. And stunting, even to today, I really love it. But I am focused on so many avenues. So music, writing, it's I think I'm getting off topic, but
no, it's good to have so many things, and I think it's important. Like, even as filmmakers, you need to have other aspects of your life. Like you can't just be in film 24/7. Like that's so insular and so.
Like limited? I sort of feel like I'm just an entertainer. I love getting on a mic and like saying stuff to everybody. I don't know whether it's going to work or not, but I just love doing it.
Right.
I love singing and playing guitar. I think it's just a thing. I'm exerting energy, and I like making people laugh and all this stuff. Yeah. So it all kind of comes with the territory.
Totally.
In a way, you know, and even skateboarding in a whole other way, kind of like cheerleading, is creative.
Yeah.
You're creating different moves and styles and things. Right. It's not like a regular sport or something.
No, it's crazy.
It is crazy, and it's creative, and you're trying to do something that's somebody else has never done.
Right.
Stuff like that. So
I am not a skateboarder.
Sort of plays a role. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Sorry to cut you off. I was gonna say I coached at Woodward in
Whoa.
It was for cheerleading. And the skateboarding there would be next level. Insanity. I have a longboard, but I can't like skateboard. I can't, do nothing. But watching all the tricks and the crazy chaos that would be skateboarding
I dreamed of going to Woodward.
It's insane. It's like a playground for all the craziest people.
So what is Woodward also for other things?
Yes. So Woodward, they actually, weirdly, this past week, they're putting a pause on their other programs. So they're focusing on skateboarding and
BMXing
scooters,
and stuff like that.
Snowboarding, all that stuff. But I was a camper there, and then I coached there. So they had cheerleading, power tumbling, gymnastics. I think they had like wakeboarding at one point. They had a cable park. And
so they so they have sections for all this stuff.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was one of my favorite places I've ever worked. Like I coached gymnastics growing up. I coached skiing growing up. I coached cheerleading. I coached at Humber. But I think Woodward is like my favorite place that I've worked.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Yep.
Busy lady.
Yeah. Big time. Yeah. So I guess in some regard, that's just sort of how it happened for me. I had the best teacher in the world. I've been lucky enough to build a bit of a reputation and work full time as a stunt guy.
That's awesome.
And I do a lot of stunt actor roles, which is great. Yeah. Not every stunt guy acts.
Right.
Stunt guy or gal.
Or can act.
There's not a lot of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, or can act. And I'm pretty confident, and I just Yeah.
You're an entertainer.
I'm an entertainer, baby. I love it. That's it. So, yeah.
Did you guys talk about music at all?
A little bit, yeah.
Is music awesome?
Yeah, he told me, which is awesome. And I think it's so important to not just be focused on one thing. Like, you need to have all these different areas of your life. Like, and I'm sure for you, I know the stunt community is so intertwined and pretty tight.
Yeah.
But most of my like closest friends, like my one best friend Jackson is a stuntman, and but the majority of my other friends aren't in film, which I find to be kind of helpful to my life, because I'm like, oh, what are you dealing with at this point in your life, in your career?
I've always felt that wasn't helpful. Like I've always lived out here, and all my friends are just not doing what I do at all. And they probably know me more of like as a stoner who plays guitar and a skateboarder, right? That's kind of maybe.
Yeah.
When I go to Toronto and I'm with all my friends in the industry, a whole different side of me is there.
Right.
And when I come home, I mean, I love that part about being home, that they don't necessarily see what I'm doing on set and all this. I like that I have friends here that I can relax with and do.
You can shut that
Just
off.
do me, just do me with. But I don't necessarily think it's helped my career, though, or
interesting.
maybe kept me sane, maybe, But I don't have like a particular community other than the stunt industry. But again, they're all over there.
Right.
I'm over here. It's different. It's different.
It's interesting you say like help you with your career, because I feel like my friends who are not in the industry have like kept me, I can't remember which one of you said sane, like they've kept me sane, they've been there for me, they've I'm really lucky for the people in my life. And that's not to say there's people in our industry that I absolutely love.
Yeah, I can't stand Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's such a hooligan. No, he's the best. Jackson's the best. And
he's a cool guy.
Like I've known him since I was 5. We grew up in gymnastics together.
Yeah.
And
he's very good at what he does.
yeah, and I'm so proud of him. And you gotta smile for the photo.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be candid.
And but yeah, I think that I've learned so much from my friends and from what they're going through at different times. And I think as a writer, it's also helped, to hear different stories, because I think like I like eat, sleep, breathe film and production every day. So like it's kind of nice to not hear about it or not talk about it, or to ask my friends like, what are you watching? And they say like, some I don't want to be like
do it.
Like a shitty Hallmark movie, or like, you know what I mean? It's
do
like,
it.
I loved it. Like, and it's, and not that Hallmarks are, shitty. As an actor, I'm like, sure, I would like to be on a Hallmark, but,
I love Hallmark movies.
and there's no shame in that.
No, there's not.
But my film friends would be like, oh my God, but the cinematography, they shoot crazy
Yeah, but
things
it's
in
so
14 days.
snobbish.
Exactly. So then I asked my friends, why do you like that? Or why do you like this? Or, they're like, it's just so simple. And I can watch it after a crazy day, and I come home and I unwind and I do X, Y, and Z. And it's so...
And I can identify with some of the heart.
Yes. Which I like, I know that sounds silly maybe to you, but like when I started thinking about it that way... But like when I started thinking about it that way, I was like, wow, like it's so easy to... dissect certain projects or like other projects. And when in actuality, it's really hard. Like I think about what Hallmark filmmakers do. They film a feature usually in like 12 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's insane. And what they're able to do, turn it around. They have some very, ornate, intense sets, whether it's Christmas or whatever. Like,
too many decorations.
Always Christmas.
but it's so beautiful.
It is, but it's too much.
But is it? I don't know. So like, but I think my friends in that way, it's been so refreshing to have friends that aren't always in the industry, because they offer a different perspective. Versus if I'm just talking with another producer friend, they'd be like, oh, well, they shot this on that. And I'm like, well, I don't really care. Like, I just want to watch the story. So like, thank you very much.
100%. Well, it's like going out to dinner.
Yeah.
So you can have a very elaborate dinner.
Right.
Or a hamburger and fries.
Yep.
So it depends on your mood
True.
at that time.
Totally.
100%.
Totally. So.
True.
I mean, I love movies. I mean,
Me too.
You need to tell me a story, and you need to move me in some fashion.
Right.
If you don't scare me, make me cry, or laugh,
Right.
I'm not really interested.
It's true.
I personally have never seen a lot of the, I don't watch the superhero stuff, or the car stuff. As a stunt guy, I don't care.
Yeah.
As a writer, I don't care about blowing stuff up or shooting anybody.
Right.
I want to make you cry.
Yeah.
Or laugh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I sometimes I think about, like, you go to the theater, let's say, to watch a movie, and you're gonna spend $20 or whatever it is for a ticket nowadays to watch either something like a Shawshank or something like a Hallmark.
Yeah.
Right? But it's the same amount of money, except really you're not getting the same ride. If I went to Canada's Wonderland and spent the same amount of money somewhere else for much smaller roller coasters and much smaller situations and much less fun, you would be kind of disappointed, and you would never go spend your $20 on that again. Now, of course, some people, perhaps that's just what they prefer. That's what they can handle. Maybe they're willing to spend that same amount of money on this lesser version because they don't want to go to that height over here, whatever. But I do have a bit of I have an itch. I feel like it's a thing, because at the end of the day, the most valuable thing that anyone can give up is their time. And when it's a movie or a series, that's hours out of somebody's day.
Totally.
And some people, their time is less valuable perhaps to them in the way that they may use it, or so, I don't know. But, if you're not being taken on some kind of emotional ride, if you're watching a comedy, whether the story is any good or not, or the ending is well executed or not, if it's made you laugh the entire time, then it might have been worth it. Because emotionally, that's what we're working on. I mean, even in life, we're working on our own emotional selves. How can I get through this day with joy, with happiness? Nobody wants to get through this day with sadness and all this whatever, but I think that's just that's a thing. If you watch a movie for 2 hours and you get nothing out of it,
I feel like you wasted your time.
Yeah, what's the sense? What is the point?
I used to be like, I'll never walk out of a movie theater. I'll never, on Netflix, I'll just see it through. And now I'm like, no, I'm out. I give up. Because it's like, you're watching that to relax. Like, yes, as much, like, sometimes I'll watch an episode of something as research if I haven't seen a show or a series or movie, whatever. But if I don't like it, why am I watching it? Like, I don't have to do that. So it's so easy now, though, to just click it off. Yeah, but now I find instead of clicking off and finding something else to watch, I click it off and I go outside. Like, it's made me so I'm like, I don't even want to watch this. Like, I've got to go.
Okay.
So it's interesting, but I don't know. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I'm always going to say
something. Yeah, what are you going to say?
I don't know. You said something that made me think something. Now it's gone, but
that's all right.
It's all good.
All right, we'll just sit here and ponder it for 5 minutes.
Yeah. No, we're talking. Well, Andrew and I, we chose a movie years ago, Shawshank Redemption, and we watch it probably at least once a year.
At least.
Yeah, at least. Andrew will make dinner, make a steak for me, or we'll have spaghetti or something, and we'll sit and watch the movie. But we know it so well, and every time we watch it, we learn something more. You see something you didn't see.
Yeah, totally.
For me, it's a great movie, but we dissect it like crazy. So I find myself doing that with most films. I mean, I can enjoy a movie. Like, it's funny because on a Saturday afternoon or whatever, if I'm home alone and I watch a Hallmark movie, it's just candy. It's just easy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's just easy.
Yeah.
And I can enjoy a movie, any movie, and like thinking Forrest Gump.
Great movie.
Another classic.
It is, and but there's more to it than what people on the surface see. Do you know what I mean? So, and I go deeper into that.
But I think
need to hear a story.
Like, at the very least, movies like that tend to get the respect that they deserve.
Right.
Well, the story's been developed.
Well, what about what I like is that as an executive producer, you're obsessed with the business. Nowadays, big studios and this and that are perhaps run by lawyers and agencies and marketing and and not necessarily filmmakers. How often are you running into these people, and how often is it a problem or not?
I mean, I don't really think it's a problem because now that the types of people that I'm interacting with really know what they're doing,
Okay.
which is awesome. I mean, some days I wish that I had a law degree or a business degree because it probably would help me a lot better. But yeah, I feel like now when I'm bringing a project, like let's say I'm going to a bigger production company or a distributor or streamer, like I've built the creative with the director, the creator of the show, whatever, to get it to a point to be able to pitch it. So when I'm taking it to that other place, well, now it's kind of what's their job, what's their, what can they bring to the table as well. So if they are a company that, was founded by a lawyer and I'm dealing with the lawyer who now runs the company, well, they have the logistic insight that I don't really have,
Okay.
So I feel like, I have a certain amount now based on experience. But yeah, I'm not really as intimidated. I'm like, okay, how do you see this working? And if how they see it working makes sense to me, or it's also how I thought it was working, then it's probably going to be a good relationship.
I see.
Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that you are answering it.
I didn't know.
Because do these people ever inhibit what you're attempting to do based on their own desires and their own needs?
I don't know if it's necessarily their own desires and own needs, but I had a project with my friend Patrick Maloney, who I love. He's an awesome filmmaker and creator as well. And our show was optioned at a very big company, and we were super stoked. And we're like, oh my God, this is it. And we were there for a year, and they just never got us. And that was really hard because we had a great pitch meeting and we were like, oh my God, we're on the same page. Like we want to go to, X, Y, and Z. Like this is where we could see this being and we could see this living here. And they're like, yes, totally. They optioned us. We were really excited. And then they slowly started trying to change absolutely everything that our show was.
Which is interesting. You have to question why.
Yeah.
What attracted you to this project in the beginning?
Mm-hmm. It's really hard. And I think like now I really try and think about, okay, who do I like as people? Who do I want to work with? And I often find that influences my decision. So, we still have really great positive relationships with that company and the people who work at it. But it was really hard. Like, why did you pick us? Why did you take a year, over a year for the show where we could have taken it to somewhere else, And now him and I have a new show that we're figuring out the agreement at another company, but we're kind of like, oh, maybe that old show could also be a fit for this company, So it's really hard. I don't know why. I think that I know for me, there's been times where I'm like, oh, I really like this. I have no idea how it's going to work. And I really like this creative. So maybe I could option it. But instead of like letting it sit and not go anywhere, I try and, throw spaghetti at the wall and figure out a plan. And if it doesn't work, release them from the option. Because I think that's where the filmmaker thing comes in. Because I'm a filmmaker first and foremost as well and a performer. So when I deal with other creatives, I'm like, oh, I don't want to be in the situation like that. So, I can let go of the option or at least give you an opportunity to go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So did you learn anything through the process?
Through that first process?
Yeah. Other than, of course. Okay.
Yeah. I learned that I don't ever want to not be in the room pitching my own stuff. Like I don't want to give away all of my rights to somebody else to pitch on my behalf.
Okay.
I think that was a big thing for me. And I think
don't care about it as much.
I don't know if they just don't care about it as much or they just don't know as much.
They don't have the passion and the heart that you have to tell your story.
Totally. So it's like...
Like for them, it's just they're
it's business. That's
right. And they may just be reciting by rote what they've learned about your story.
Totally.
But they're not getting this.
Yeah,
No.
and their end game is the what's coming back.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah, and if someone you get asked questions and pitches all the time, like, oh, well, what do you think about this character, doing this or that, and they're a yes guy because they want the project to get money and get made.
Right.
So there's been,
that's interesting.
We had a situation where we, they went in to pitch for us, and they got asked all these questions, and like, yeah, we totally see this happening and being possible, and we're like, no. Like, not at all. Like, do you not get us? Like, that's the complete opposite of what we wanted, and I think that's it was just a really unfortunate situation, but a great learning experience in the end because, we still have our show. We didn't give away our rights. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, even when I optioned for creatives, and I'm sure there's other people that might listen to this and be like, what do you mean? But I don't ever take the rights away from the creative. Like, that's insane. That's not mine. I didn't think about it. So why should I own that?
Right.
If I contribute, substantially, then yeah, maybe I'm a co-creator, and but to take someone else's IP as my, like, no.
Yeah, but there are companies out there,
do that.
yes, some streaming services where
Totally.
they're going to purchase your IP.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard where some advice to filmmakers is that in the event that you do pitch to one of these services and they want to buy the IP,
Yeah,
and you're a creative guy, you come up with more stuff,
totally.
sell it.
Yeah,
And that gets you in that door.
totally.
And then later you can negotiate that
Yeah.
you're not going to sell your IP.
But that's a different situation, Like, I'm sure we've all thought of projects that we're like, oh, this is great. I just want to sell this. Like, I'll just sell this.
Right.
I don't have to make it,
Right.
but someone else should. That's great. Like, I've had so many of those, and I've sold projects, which is great. And that's also helped with funding different other projects that I am passionate about. But IP is such a tricky game, and
That would discourage somebody. It would even discourage you. If I'm working on a show that I know that now I don't own, and it was
Yeah.
mine, and I'm writing it, and I'm, what the hell? I feel like that would be so discouraging.
yeah. And I think I feel like a lot of writers feel that way when they're solely writers, oftentimes they don't even come to set. You think about a feature, your film's bought. If you don't have another role in the project, you're probably not going to be there.
Yeah, well, a feature film is a director medium, so
Yeah.
the writer's not necessarily there.
Totally.
But in television, writer, producer
Are always
they're-
there.
Yeah.
So you talked about a series. I was going to ask about that. With series being so massive now in
Yeah.
comparison to features,
That's true.
do you feel compelled to move on to that because of that, or is it just something that this sounds great?
I just think I want to do it.
Yeah.
like,
Series they are awesome.
I really want to, I love features. I love being with a project, start to finish, all that fun stuff, and you're more contained in the feature world. But I think for me, I want to do TV, and I want to get into producing TV. I've sold TV, which has been great, but I just haven't been able to get it greenlit yet. So hopefully for the new year, that's my 2023 goal. But I have a project that's been at CBC for 2 years, and we're just going through our final round of development. Who knows what'll happen there?
Explain that for anyone that's listening. What's the development process? Yeah, of what you're talking about right there.
Totally. So it's I've had a few different rounds of development for different companies. So it can be anything from an option to a shopping agreement. So a shopping agreement is where you, which I don't think I would necessarily enter again, but you give the opportunity for another company to shop your project around to distributors or to streamers or whatever. An option agreement is where they own the rights for however amount of time. Usually it's around a year, 8 months to a year and a half, to try and develop the project further. So during that time, when they're optioned and put into development, they'll have different deliverables for you. Sometimes it's a paid development. It should be, I'm in paid developments now, but I think, even 5 years ago, Canada was really behind on doing paid development. They would option things and just expect you to work on it without being paid. But that's changed, thankfully.
Wow.
So, in some of the deliverables with CBC, we had to do a sizzle to kind of execute what we wanted to do. We had to do 2 scripts for our writers, and now we're in the process of hiring a story editor, who I'm really stoked about, and they're going to do a pass on that, and then we go from there. So it's different every time. It could also be packaging your project is a huge part of development. Who do you want on your team? Mm-hmm. Are you open to having a writer's room, or do you want it just to, are you going to write everything you're on your own? So you're just kind of fine tuning the project, and also keeping the creative integrity while somehow finding a way to mesh with whatever company you're at. Yeah.
Interesting. Sounds really easy for all those young filmmakers out there.
Yeah. Easy
I mean, they
peasy.
tell you what they want. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Of
course.
So, and then from there, you're like, okay, well, how much is that going to cost? I didn't know all this stuff. I asked questions, and, I had an idea in my head of what we should, pay our writers. And CBC's like, well, we have an agreement with WGC, Writers Guild of Canada. So we have to pay even non-union writers WGC rates. And I was like, well, that's expensive, but I was like, okay. So then we redid the budget and we resubmitted it. Like I think that also goes back to the cold emailing and knowing that you're probably going to fail at stuff. Like, I don't know everything. I'm never going to know everything, so just kind of being like, okay, what do I have to do? And then listen to them and then go do the thing. And then hopefully it, moves forward.
Yeah.
Being an athlete, I just, you do what you have to get the skill and then you go compete.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you have to do it every day.
Yeah, you do. Yep.
It's working.
Yeah.
Andrew's over here.
Very interesting. I was sitting here going, damn, yeah, I'm learning something. No, so cool. All right, great. Can you talk about your series at all?
Yeah, it's called Ran and Jaden. So it's a satirical take on the gay millennial experience from the eyes.
R and J?
Ran and Jaden, R and J, yes. But Ran and Jaden. It's, the gay millennial experience through the eyes of two best friends. And they started as a sketch comedy group and putting their stuff on YouTube. And when I was at TO Web Fest, someone was like, hey, have you seen these guys? They submitted for the festival this year. Don't think they're a fit based on, not their writing was amazing, but like the quality of work. But I think there's something here. Anybody want to take a look at them? And I was like, me. And everyone else had, were working at larger companies or, doing some really cool things. And I was like, I just want to meet more creators. And I met with them and just really liked them and continued to work with them. And then, they were still pumping out content and reached out to CBC and they took us on. So I'm excited. It's been like a long time and COVID really deterred us. We got put into development February 2020 and I was like, yeah, this is it. And then, the world was a dumpster fire. So
wow.
Really excited for that to move forward.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But you made a short during COVID.
I did. I made two. So
How did you navigate that? Everybody wore masks in the show?
Mm-hmm. So the first one I did was Disconnected. I actually shot a lot during COVID, as I know you guys did too. And I felt like there was such a big divide between like the big shows were absolutely able to get back to filming and back to work.
Yeah, totally.
But the independent filmmakers really were, I think, hit harder in some aspects because
Totally.
It's so expensive, and
a couple of shows we did drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
For
did.
sure.
But we did a show that spent nearly $3 million in testing.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see like some other friends, I have friends that are intimacy coordinators and their budgets were dropped and they were off of shows and their money was reallocated to COVID, and scenes were rewritten. And that was like, interesting instead of being given more money.
What a shame.
It is,
That you had to alter your story.
Yep.
To be able to afford to test your cast.
Totally. And your crew and keep people safe.
Wow.
It's insane. And especially it's fascinating to me. Like I took this course like early on in the pandemic. So it wasn't the official like a COVID officer course, but it was actually for Boy City, which is a feature I have that's going to come out later this year. And it's directed by Sean Cisterna. It's really funny. And I took a course so that I could be able to administer our own tests for our cast and crew based on our actor requirements. Because that saved us, that was minimum. A COVID PA is like $400 a day and then a nurse on top of that. And then a COVID officer plus all the COVID materials. And since I was an incorporated company, was able to get all of the testing kits for free.
This is incredibly impressive.
Yeah, so saved us a lot of money. So as an independent filmmaker, we're saving thousands of dollars to our budget. And so that was pretty hectic because that was that was a full feature. We shot in 3 weeks, but still, we were up in Aurelia and I'm testing people in the hotel lobby. Like, and we still didn't know what, we didn't know what were, the potential consequences of that or whatever. And, anyways.
Great. So you shot in Aurelia. So are you able to take, advantage of the Northern tax credits in Aurelia? Is that? So
it's not part of the official, 50%, but we were able to get the same, tax credit as Hamilton.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just stepping outside the city is a big difference.
Totally. Saved us so much money. And then for my short with COVID, I shot that prior to the feature. So I wrote it in quarantine, shot it in lockdown. It was myself, my DP, my sound recordist, and Jackson Rosario. And I was like, hey guys, like I have this short. It's going to be a 1 day, like, you know, and we were all up in Collingwood. I was like, would you mind coming over? We can test. You can wear masks. Like I have a bunch of hand sanitizer. Like I just want to shoot something. And you know, they were like, yeah. So we each quarantined for a couple days before, and then they came over and shot the short 1 day, and kind of just wrote it, or kind of did it just to see if I could do it, to write, direct, produce, and act all in one go. And it went really well, and I'm really lucky for them, you know, to be my teammates on it. And then we premiered at Mammoth Film Festival and went to a couple others, and then premiered on CBC TV end of last month, and are now on CBC Gem. So that was like a weird little COVID project that ended up, like, to be honest, the bar was set pretty low. I was like, I just want to film it. And then, you know,
How long is it?
It's 8 minutes. So it's, you know, it's short, easy to watch.
Yeah.
And then I wrote another one called Memory Lane, which was a little bit more labor intensive. But so I directed, wrote, produced, starred in that, and tested all of our casting crew.
That's crazy.
That was the one Kim did. Kim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how we met.
I can't stand him either.
Oh my God. I'm obsessed.
What a loser.
Yeah. So not talented at all or anything
No,
like that.
no, he's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. An unfunny guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
not funny.
Not easy to
Can't-
get along with.
Can't sing, can't act,
Yeah.
can't do everything.
Certainly
He's
not a
just-
good looking guy.
No, not at
And
all.
he can't draw.
Oh God, no.
No. Yeah.
Isn't it so annoying? He's like the coolest, most creative person I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't stand him.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, creating during COVID. I mean, I'm grateful now that things have really turned around and they've changed. And I mean, we're still in it, but you know, it feels more accessible now, and it feels like people know the drill. It's not. It's like, okay, we just got to do this to keep doing the stuff that we love to do.
Yeah, it's lessening.
Yeah.
It's going away.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
I wore a mask yesterday for the first time in months.
Yeah.
On set.
And I don't care. Like I've never been. I'm like, yeah, if I have to wear a mask so that I get to do the stuff that I love, yeah, I'll wear a friggin' mask. Like I don't really.
No,
like,
Yeah. We're kind of like that.
You
too.
know,
yes, I'm just
Yeah.
going to go with the flow, right? But
I mean,
Yeah.
last year, the COVID tests alone managed to pay my year-end bills.
Right?
Like, it was insane.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, although that's beautiful on my end, I
Yeah.
can't imagine what it's like on your end. So,
Yeah. And you're
You
like,
know.
I have to pay people to get a swab up their nose that everyone is experiencing, you know?
yeah.
yeah.
Well, for me, it's driving into Toronto just to do that. I
Yeah.
have to mess with my day to go do
Yeah,
that,
it
Totally.
takes our day.
and it's
Yeah.
kind of weird. Yeah, you know, it's a
Totally.
bit like a wardrobe session or
Totally.
or whatever.
Yep.
You know, so strange.
we're gonna miss it.
You're going to miss it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think I'm gonna swab. I'm gonna just swab my nose just for the nostalgia.
Oh my God.
Do you now that you've done the acting, directing, producing, writing all at once?
Yep.
Oh,
It's one thing for a short. Do you think it would be another if you were doing a feature?
I mean, I hope to do a feature doing that too.
Yeah.
So, Grace, I will act in, but probably a smaller role, especially because my first feature, you know, obviously I've produced a lot of features, but to be in it, to direct a feature, I think that's just going to be a little too hectic for me.
Okay.
But I would love TV wise to create and star in my own show and write and produce. And yeah. I can see me doing that. Somehow that seems like a little bit easier than a feature. I don't know how or why, but in my head, I'm like, maybe there's more people involved, so it's a better, stronger team. Like, I don't know. It seems
Maybe.
a little bit more accessible.
I don't
I have
know.
no idea. We'll
yeah,
see.
yeah, I'm trying to figure that out because the TV series is a longer process, and it's a continuing thing and a changing thing,
Right.
as opposed to the
you
singular
can't-
story
Yeah.
of a feature.
And if you can't
Yeah.
stand at the monitor as a showrunner, or you know, I mean, and because you're up there doing your crying scene,
Yep.
you know,
That's true.
You
I mean,
really have
that's-
to trust somebody.
yeah, you have to go.
Or you
have
watch
to-
playback. My short, I bawl my eyes out in my short. And I like ran back and Jackson's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm acting." Like, you know, like it's yeah, I guess it's something I have to really percolate and
That's
think
interesting.
on. But
Yeah, but that's the dream. That is that's very cool.
yeah, so that's what I hope to do. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, right on.
Well, there's a lot of people that do it.
It's true.
Why,
It's true.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My friend, I had another COVID project. It was a podcast. But it's called Workhorse Show Pony, and I haven't stuck with it. I need to get back. You guys have inspired me. But my friend Rocky, she's really cool. We met doing another web series, and she manages Rupi Kaur, who's a poet. And on our conversation, she said, everybody else is doing it. Why can't it be me? And that's been something that's like stuck with me the whole time. Even cold emailing or pitching people, like,
Right.
why can't it be me? Like, why can't it be you or you? Like,
Films are made by people.
yeah.
I'm just one of those people.
And I'm capable, and I have a brain, and I have a vision. Like, why?
Totally.
Work hard,
Yep.
be nice to people, and like, why not you? So
So the hardest part, arguably, would be finding the funding to make a movie. So you're a really creative writer. Mm-hmm. You write a script. You're a really creative director. However that came about. You're a really creative actor. Teach the young people who are listening to this right now how to approach an investor and get them to invest in your film.
totally. I think the hardest part is actually just getting started. It's writing that script or finding that project or finding that director. So I think if for someone that wants to be a young producer, well, you can't pitch stuff if you don't have material. So
Right.
Go find material. And then if you're like, okay, well, what's next? Like, how is, do we really need a specific DP for this project? Okay, bring them on. Like, how can I strengthen this project so that someone says yes and they don't say no? Or even if they say maybe. And then from there, like, be like, okay. And then figure out how much it's going to cost. Don't go to an investor without a budget. Like, that's insane. Like, I was pitched yesterday on a project, and they literally pitched me a $15 million movie, which is great. Awesome. Not out of my scope. The next project I'm working on is 8.5, which is a big jump for me, but 15.
Stellar.
Yeah. 15 is coming, and I'm excited for that. But their project's not 15 million. It's not going to take $15 million to make their project. It's like a female driven, indie that could be shot in like 5 locations, and it doesn't even have 10 cast.
So they just came up with
They
the
just
number.
said 15 million. And I was like, where did you come up with 15 million? Have you done a budget? And they're like, no. Well, then how do you know it's 15 million? 15 million is that's a lot of money. Like, could you shoot this for could you shoot this for 2 million? Like, could you shoot this for 5? Could you shoot it maybe for 750? Like, I don't know. So I would say figure out your budget. What are the true costs to make that? And there's so many easy ways to figure that out. You can go to Actra's website, figure out, what is a daily rate. And then from there you can figure out, it's not called CPAT anymore, but I still call it CPAT. The crew rates, commercially, cause IATSE is super expensive. And, if you don't feel like you can afford that at that point, go get those other rates that they use for commercials and use that to kind of base your numbers on. Or if you have a friend that's in IATSE, be like, what do you get paid in a day? Okay, well, maybe I can't afford 800, but like maybe I could budget for 600. Okay, put it in there. Like,
Or toss a little dough to a production manager friend, a line producer.
But if you don't know anybody.
Well, I guess that's true.
I didn't know a line producer in the
Right.
beginning. Like, I was my own line producer, and luckily, like, I had kind of had different businesses and knew how to do a budget, but I didn't know how much things cost. I didn't know anyone that was a line producer.
Right.
And so my first time working with a line producer, they weren't actually like the best line producer. So I learned more about what not to do than what to do, which can
Probably a
sometimes,
good thing.
yeah, it can be really valuable as well. So I think, in terms of pitching an investor, like, find other projects, or for me, it was kind of like, okay, this person invested on this project. Like, was this, from a production company that was also a financier? Like, I go a little meticulous with my research because you have to.
That's great.
And be like, oh, they make films. Oh, they fund female-driven thrillers. Well, that's what I'm doing. I wonder if they would like this. Like, oh, okay, like, go on their website, read about them, or, research the projects that they've done. And if it's a fit, email them and say, hey, I really liked what you did on, I don't know, the Randy Butcher, Harley, whatever, Butcher bar thing, and like, I'm just like looking around at all the stuff here.
Nobody can see the room. That's
they
funny.
can't see the room.
No.
There's all this cool stuff
They'll
in the
see
room,
this.
and like, but I love that. And I I have a scene where, the lead girl rides down on a Harley, through the Adirondacks. It's so beautiful. Like, I think it would be a fit. I'd love to pitch you. Like,
Just man, I gotta make a note on that.
like find something to connect. Like, not just be like, hey man, I want your money, or like, hey girl, I want your money, or hey
Sure.
them, So I think finding the investor that's a fit for you, because there's tons of people that have money, doesn't mean you want to work with them.
Yeah.
So, or that they want to work with you. So finding that common ground and really doing your research and being like, okay, this film was made for $1 million. There were only, 4 investors on it. Or even hit up the director and be like, hey, I really liked your film. I think it's really cool. I'm trying to do something too. Did you do that privately? Like private investors, equity? Did you do bridge financing? Like, how did you get it made? Just ask. We're like, there's this idea that there's like scarcity of work, but it's not true. We're all working and we all have something different to offer. So why not ask people how they got it done?
So now describe what bridge financing is. You said it, so
So bridge financing to get you through a certain amount of, whether it's production, before you make your first sale. So let's say like on another feature that I did last year, we knew that it was going to take us about $350,000 to get us through from pre to the end of production. And then thinking about post. We didn't have our finishing funds, but we knew that that was what it was going to take. And we were dependent on a certain time of year to shoot. And we're like, okay, we can get through this and shoot. And then, we had an investor pull out. So went to RBC and got bridge financing, which was basically a loan in order for us to be able to finish the film and then sell it and make our money back and then be able to pay off that.
Right.
So it's like to, bridge between two opportunities.
Right. I knew, but I needed you to tell them.
I know you know.
I didn't know. Thank you for that.
You had a glimmer in your eye. I was like, oh my gosh, here we go.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That is so good.
But again, didn't know that until I asked, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, ask people, or there's, great groups and great outlets, or, the I Need a Producer Fixer group on Facebook. I know it can get a little oversaturated, but there's been times when I've posted in there in Canada and been like, I don't know what to do. Has anyone experienced this? Because people want to help each other, but if you don't ask, you're not going to learn.
So there's a producer fixer on Facebook. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So it's called I Need a Producer Fixer, I think Crew Edition. There's one in the U.S.
Oh, I think I'm
on.
You
Yeah,
should,
we're on that.
I'm
We're
pretty
both
sure
on
you're
that.
both on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for
but-
recognizing.
Because we do. You say ask the questions.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of young people don't know the questions to ask.
Right.
So, things get off to the side. It's kind of.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Like, I think everyone's so afraid of looking dumb or looking stupid, and I know I have at certain points in my life too. But
Well, most people do look dumb.
yeah, but like, thank you, awesome.
But I think it's okay,
Yeah, but no, it
because you got to
is.
learn.
But yeah, we have to get better with being dumb. And some
Yeah, totally.
don't be dumb. But I think,
Don't call it the cheerleading thing.
thank you. That would
That's really wrong.
I was screaming internally. But it's okay not to know things. And how are you going to know things if you don't ask? Like, suddenly you finish high school and you're just expected to know absolutely everything?
Right.
No, that's not true. No, not at all. So, to ask for help, it should be something that's celebrated and rewarded versus looked down upon. I feel like, even though we say it's not looked down upon, but people are like, oh my God, like, I'm going to be such an idiot if I ask this question. How do I not know this? And it's like, well, how would you know it?
Exactly.
Like, I didn't know it,
That is literally the opposite of the saying, fake it till you make it.
I think there are things that you can fake it till you make,
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's more power in admitting when you don't know something,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
And
agree
most
with
people
that.
are willing to teach. Most
Totally.
people, they're so into themselves, into what they know.
Sure.
They're really, hey, yeah, I'll help you, because they want to.
They
Well,
want
there,
to.
and your own knowledge isn't valuable to the next person who knows that knowledge too. So it's teaching somebody, you actually do feel valuable
Right.
in who you
Absolutely.
are.
Absolutely.
It makes sense because you're kind of giving a gift to somebody.
It's true. And it might sound silly right now, and I'm not where I want to be, but if I can help someone learn, half of what I, didn't know now, maybe they can go forward and be better and do better, and our industry grows in a different way. Like, that sounds kind of, I don't know if that sounds too far-fetched, but I'd rather save people the hours of time and the Google searches that I did if that helps them and they get to their work faster.
But
You know?
even if you do help 20 people in your life,
Mm-hmm.
there's 120 of them trying to get that information.
Yeah.
It's really hard. Unfortunately, Google's and all that stuff, sort of, it's a great thing that we have it,
Mm-hmm.
and that, you don't become who you are without it, really.
Yeah.
So it is nice that you're giving back, but there's so many people out there with so much passion, and it is hard to find someone like you. I don't know, maybe not.
I don't know.
Maybe
There's going to
not.
be 120 people.
Yeah, there
emailing
is now. Yeah.
Mariah
But I
tomorrow.
think it's hard. There
true.
might be people with passion, but there's not necessarily people with drive. Like, I don't think there's people that are going to actually email.
What's
you
in
know?
that? I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because, living here, we have a lot of friends who are not in the business. They're
Right.
I call them civilians, right? They're just out there. But you're asked all the time, can you help me get in the business? Can you, they used to tease me when I was younger, but now they all want to be a part of it. It's kind
Right.
of weird. But honestly, knowing them or whoever they are as well as I know them,
Yeah.
they could never sustain. It's just not, you have to have a filmmaker's heart passion to sustain this industry. You work 16-hour days. My friends get work from 9 to 5. What do you do with the rest of your day?
Yeah.
I don't even get it.
But I mean, you got to be into what you're doing.
Totally.
Well, that's my
You got to
point.
love what you
Yeah.
do. I mean, yeah. Just sit. I mean, there have been times though when I've met somebody who would be a great stunt performer. Never thought about it ever in their life. Didn't even
Yeah.
know that it was a thing, or that they just didn't even think about it. Oh yeah, I guess somebody does that.
Right.
And when you suggest it to them, a spark might light. They kind of go, "Wow, I never even thought about that." And that happens.
Yeah, and it does. But the drive thing that you mentioned, because if you don't have the passion in the first place, it's really cool to get that first job. It's really cool to go to set and watch how its movies are made, and you go home and say, "You wouldn't believe what they put into making a minute of film."
Totally.
But you have to go back the next day. Then you have to get the third job,
Yeah.
and get the sixth job and the eighth job, and get a mortgage and buy a house and get a car,
Yep.
and convince the banker that what you're doing. It's way easier to go get a job.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And it's hard because
Big
there's no
time.
stability. You don't know. You have an idea in your head. You're like, okay, I need to do this, this, and this. And there's other skills. Like, I know, like, worst case scenario, knock on wood, but like I can go be a production manager, or there's other skills in the industry that I could do if I had to pick up day jobs to make it a little bit more stable, or go, to prove to the bank that I had some sort of stability. But I don't want to do that. Like, I want to keep doing what I'm doing.
But even a production manager is a contract.
Yep.
It's you're a contract player,
Yeah.
and when that movie's over,
Yeah.
you have to convince the bank manager that there's another one coming because you're really good at what you do.
But
Yeah.
there's something to be said about the survival aspect of it all.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of like, that's what I feel like. I don't rely on the fact that I have a job next week.
Yeah.
Every day I feel like it's like a survival. Every morning I'm like, okay, how am I going to make money? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? How am I going to continue doing what I love to do?
Right.
Every single day.
But
Yeah.
don't you love it?
Yeah, and I do. But that at the end of the day is what makes it so rewarding.
Yeah.
So worth it. So, future. Do you have an idea? Do you have an outlook? Do you have a very specific something?
In terms of what I want to do.
Yeah, because you mentioned a smidgen earlier that you're not where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be on do bigger budgets and bigger projects, and I love what I'm doing, and I'm not like in a crazy rush. And I think because I fast tracked so much of my life, like, finished school at 16, went to U of T at 16, and then started my company at 21. Like, I think
She's doing it again.
She's bragging.
Braggart.
I'm not bragging. They're just, they're just facts.
You'll
okay?
get used to my humor in
Thank
time.
you.
No, it's beautiful. I love it.
But like, that's something too. Like, I was just on this like expedited process, and I was like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And I had a really good friend say to me, like, at the time I was only 23. And he's like, you're 23 years old. Like, go live your life. What are you doing? Like, why are you always working? Why are you, And I'm grateful because like I would, miss a lot of big moments or like miss things with my friends to work. And I don't regret it because I'm grateful and I've learned so much. But now I think I value that time even more. So I think,
Yeah, I feel that.
yeah, like moving forward in terms of like my future, I just want to work on projects that I'm really passionate about, not necessarily like, yeah, we all need to make money and make a paycheck, but I need to be more selective in what I choose to do and what I choose not to do.
Yeah, regardless of what the project you're doing, you're still making the money.
Yeah. Yep.
Somebody pitches 20 shows and you pick 3.
Right.
Or
Yep.
pick 2 of your own. You're still doing the same thing.
Totally. And just making sure I'm really passionate about it. I think down the line, like I would love to have a studio someday. Like I think that would be really great, for Canadian filmmakers to actually, because obviously we have all, we have 777 and all these great places, and but I don't see a lot of Canadian shows in them. It's really hard for a lot of Canadian projects to get into a studio, and a studio that's not super far, and something's a little more accessible.
Don't you think that in America, when they make movies, they don't care whether it's American or not? They just want to shoot a big fucking movie. And here in Canada, we just really want to represent Canada. What is that?
With beavers and
I don't know if we want to
Mountie
represent.
police.
Well, you talk.
You mean with telefilm and making it Canadiana? Yeah, totally. I don't know, man.
Does that? Yeah.
The film industry is global.
Right.
Your audience is now global.
Totally.
You don't have to tell a story about a fisherman in Newfoundland. I'm sorry, no offense to Newfoundland, to be Canadian.
Yeah.
Like, just tell a story, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And I think the other thing to think of is I look at the top 10 artists in so many different mediums, whether it's film or TV or music. The majority of the top people are Canadians. But what did they have to do? They had to leave in order to be successful, to return and be welcomed home. And so I think for me, that's something that I'm really still trying to figure out and dissect, because I don't want to leave. Like I truly, I love it here. My family's here. My friends are here.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It's a point where you have to leave in order to grow and get greenlit in LA and then come back and shoot your projects at home.
It's such a shame.
So ridiculous.
I believe in the Wizard of Oz concept, in that if you can't make your dreams come true in your own backyard, they may not be worth making.
Interesting.
See, I don't want to I never wanted to go to LA
Yeah.
and live.
Yeah.
Because my family's here, my friends are here. The
Yeah.
passion that made me want to be a filmmaker is here.
Right.
Why would I want to go there and be by myself? I'm a writer and I need to live. If I would miss my friends.
Totally.
So that's why I'm still here.
Yeah.
I make a great living. My dream has come true 100-fold.
Totally.
But you said something. My head starts to swirl when it comes to this kind of stuff. It's so important to be here.
Yeah.
It's important to be doing what you want to do.
I applied to go to
if that means
I applied to go to a
flying.
school. That's true. Well, no, I'll fly anywhere. I don't care.
Yeah.
I applied to go to a Canadian film school, and as a writer, and submitted a screenplay as part of my application.
Yeah.
And what I got back was that it was an American story, and thank you very much. And I didn't get to go, and now I lecture there every year.
It's not crazy.
Yeah.
It's so insane. I don't even get it. I don't understand how people can discredit that entirely.
I know, it's weird.
And do you walk back there and you're like,
No,
that's what
I never bring it up. I don't care.
Really?
It's 100 years ago, right? But
it's interesting. I don't think of myself as vindictive or any of that, but I got the opportunity or was asked to speak for International Women's Day at my high school. And my drama teacher told me that I wasn't artistic and I wasn't creative and that I probably shouldn't pursue the arts. And then my gym teacher, who used to be my volleyball coach, the year that my first year on Team Canada and the year we won, she told me I wasn't that athletic and that I wasn't a team player and that I probably should not play volleyball anymore.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, I don't
What?
I like volleyball. I play it, on the beach with my friends having some White Claws, but it's not, wasn't my dream.
yeah.
But it's just so interesting that there are people who will knock you down a peg and tell you that you're not something. And then you do your whole life is that.
I had a counselor that told me that acting there's no way.
Yeah.
And they said, do you have like a backup? And I said, comedian. And I went, okay, Andrew, you're not taking this seriously. And I said, director.
Yeah.
I said, NBA basketball player.
Yeah.
I said everything else. They didn't want to hear it.
Totally.
Yeah, and I've dealt with that as well.
And it's like, who are you to tell someone that? Like, there's, like I understand there's a time and a place, or there's exceptions to the rule. But if someone is not, it's not like it's a pipe dream and you didn't write the script and you're like, I'm going to be a writer. And someone's like, do you journal or have you written anything? And you're like, no, just in my head. Then I would be like, okay, well, maybe write a script.
Yeah.
You know?
There are people
But even
defying
there,
their stuff every
that's
day.
constructive criticism.
Yeah.
It's not putting that person down.
Totally. And to discredit you and be like, it's an American story. Who cares? It's a good story. You can change it from American to Canadian. People do it all the time.
Yeah.
People change genders on
I wouldn't
screen
have,
for
but yeah.
roles.
I'm teasing.
But if like I just switched to a new agent, she was telling me the story of how they were one of the first agencies to start submitting women for male roles, and they got a few casting directors and directors and writers to change the role from being a male cop to a female cop, and like that. Why not? I don't know.
I love that.
Yeah. It takes a couple of creative minds to just put some things together.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now, Mariah, we're going to slowly close up. We're going to continue to talk for a little bit, but while we're doing it, you need to sign the table.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay? So,
Are you going to toss this over to me?
yes. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
My toss is terrible.
Okay.
Anywhere.
If you want, you can draw something.
Can I draw something? I draw stuff.
Yeah, you can take up a whole section if you want.
Oh, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I
Okay,
can hear you.
I don't know. Okay. Are you going to keep talking to me while I do this or no?
No, we're going to watch you.
Oh, God.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
not
start
anymore.
sweating.
This is where we often say that people listening to the podcast, what they're hearing is the big Sharpie scraping across
Probably.
the table.
Yeah. And then we get to describe what's being
And,
drawn.
yeah. I
Which
love
looks like
what
Pac-Man
I'm
so
seeing so
far.
far.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's me. That's hilarious. For everyone that can't see this, Mariah's now drawing
that looks really close.
the three of us. That's so cute.
I like it.
So did you study art?
No, but I've always loved. Well, actually, that's kind of a lie. I mean, I took art classes. Like,
Yeah.
I love art and cartooning, and my dad loves cartooning, and I always had a sketch pad. And I feel like I can't talk and do this at the same time. I don't want to mess it up.
No, yeah.
You go ahead.
This is how it usually ends up.
Oh, really?
It's like silence.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always loved cartooning, and I think that this past year I also lost a nail on the way over here. I'm very sorry.
Aw.
Yeah, you
okay.
better be sorry. I noticed.
It wasn't our
Yeah,
fault.
Really?
I noticed, and the whole time I'm
I noticed-
distracted.
Honestly, it's been driving me nuts.
Yuck.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I know. It's irritating. Anyways, but yeah, I love cartooning. It's kind of like a creative outlet I have that I don't get paid for, which
Yeah.
is fun. So got to do a couple, I did some custom porch signs this year for Halloween. I did one for my mom and for some of my friends. And I always make cards. And
Oh,
all that
that's
fun
great.
stuff.
That's
fun.
So they're fun. Do you guys have a creative outlet that you do that you don't make money on, or you don't want to make money on?
Well,
I don't know.
skateboarding, and then maybe draw. Like, I draw too, I guess, all the time, but I don't.
Andrew's younger sister, Randy Lee, is an art director in the film business.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good at what
She
she
just
does.
did the Chevy Chase and
the Goosebump thing up.
yeah. Who else is in it? Chevy?
Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd.
It's fun.
Just in case.
What do we got?
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, those are headphones.
Yeah.
I wondered
I
why
do.
They
my
look like earmuffs right now. Yeah. This is not my best work. It kind of looks like we're outside skiing, but that's okay.
Yeah, they look like toques a little bit.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
and yeah, keep going. It's great. And you still have to sign it, so
Oh, great.
we'll be here another half hour.
So, do you guys have a dog, or do you like?
Well,
I don't know.
We sort of do.
What do you mean you sort of?
Well, no, we had a 15-year-old little guy. We had to put him down a month ago.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna draw my dog on.
Breaks
here.
our
That's
heart. Yeah, you draw your dog.
right. Her name's Mammoth.
Please.
You would love her.
Okay, those were starting out as nipples. Okay, I see.
Way to make it weird, Andrew.
Well,
You know, had you not mentioned the dog, I would have questioned it myself.
Oh my gosh.
But
yeah.
there's Mammoth.
This isn't my best work, okay, guys?
No, but
fine.
I'm guessing Mammoth's a big dog.
She's 90 pounds. She's a German Shepherd Lab mix.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the rescue tried to tell me she was a golden retriever. That was really interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
weird.
Yep, and that she would be 60 pounds.
Wow,
It's not true.
Jeez, what a
Yep.
surprise.
Yep. But I love her very much.
that's so good.
Do you guys drink beer?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gonna put a beer in my hand.
Yeah, well, I didn't
Actually,
we drink scotch.
Yeah,
So
if
Oh, well, you're
you're
drinking-
looking at the
our logo is
at the
Scotch
logo, yeah,
glasses.
it's got we got little Scotch glasses there. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
Woo.
Our logo is going to change now.
Ho, ho, ho.
I see a new T-shirt coming.
Yeah, look at that. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I hear the Sharpie scratches.
Yeah. Everybody listening on
I'm like, oh, that's so nice.
some podcast. Oh, that was great.
What do we got? Thanks for having me. Oh, you called us cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Oh, I have to finish
Love
my
it.
beer.
Yeah. Finish my beer like I finish my beer.
There you go. You kind of look a little drunk. I have you on the side there. I'm sorry.
Well,
I wanna-
not far from the truth. No,
Yeah, that's so good.
that's awesome. Had we had you here a little later, we might have offered you beers and tequilas.
Not at 10 in
and
the
that.
morning?
Well,
What the heck?
we could have. We should have. Maybe. I don't know.
Cool.
When you come back,
Mariah,
do
thanks
the
so
White
much.
Claws.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you guys. You are awesome, and thank you for having me. It was really awesome to meet you, finally.
Yeah. Ditto. It's awesome.
And you're so cool, so hopefully we get to work together.
100%.
I will keep listening.
Well, we'll talk about that
Thank
the
you.
moment we stop.
No, we're done. Yeah.
Woohoo.
Mariah, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming on, going again.
Yeah, you're incredible.
Woohoo.
Love it.
So are you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Got it, D.